All right, we're live. I am a little late today, a little behind. I was just on another meeting and managed to screw this up a little bit. So good to see you guys here. Let's see. I'm running a new mic today, so hopefully it's easier to hear. It's much easier for me to use this thing than the RE20. This is an ATR 2100. So there we are. What's up, Travis? Good to see you guys. And I'm also on a completely new setup, new computer, new screen. Everything new, but the camera is the same. So if I fuck something up, that's probably why. And I probably did because now YouTube's going to hate me for dropping an F-bomb in the first minute. My bad. Okay. And I think Joey's coming in at some point, but it may be a problem that I don't have it set up for him. But I'll get there. Give me a second. Let's see. Top of the hops here. Let's do the numbers, as they say. And while I slowly get my shit together here, state of the networks. There it is. Okay, let's talk about, where is Onocoy? Good God, I'm way behind today. Okay, the big one with Onocoy was that I just did, let's see if I can put myself at the top there. Just released this piece on Onocoy where I did a bunch of testing on the Callian antennas. That was super fun to do. But basically the takeaway from it was, and I don't know if you can hear, they're paving my street outside. Takeaway from that was that you don't need to spend 10 grand or 2 grand or whatever on a super fancy antenna. For Onocoy right now, Onocoy rewards everyone the same as long as you have a baseline good enough antenna, and the antenna that ships with at least my unit, the Spark Fun, which is right there, is plenty good to get you max rewards. So as almost always with antennas, it's much more about position and what the antenna can see in the sky. And once it can see to the horizon, you're totally fine. If you are stuck in somewhere where you're in the middle of the city and there is a bunch of multipath, maybe there's a case to be made right now for doing a fancier antenna. But at this point, if you're in Onocoy and you're not doing it for professional reasons, you're just doing it for DePIN, I think the only crazy way out edge case would you be deep in the city and you bought a nice choke ring on eBay. It doesn't look like the technology has changed that much in the past 5 years. And so you could probably get something a little bit older and be just fine. You guys want to talk about tariffs? I don't know, like they don't seem to affect me, but maybe they do. Maybe my egg prices have gone up. I haven't noticed it. Let's see. So anyone, I've got a schedule to do the router test mode this week so that anyone is behind me. I just broke my network. I could really use Joe at Network Bits expertise here to put it back up because I forgot how to set up all my static IPs. And every time I try and put in the gateway address, I manage to break my internet and I've got to SSH back into the UDMP and fix everything. And so it's been enough of a hassle that I haven't got my anyone hardware nodes back online. I should do that this week. And then I'll take the router out to a cafe and do a cool little demo with it. I think that is super, super cool as far as a use case for a real DePIN, and really nice. If I traveled a lot more, I think it would be way more important. But for me, I don't travel a ton. What's up, Jay? And so, yeah, it's not as like pressing for me to do it right meow. Let's see. Are these new ear goggles? No, these are, in fact, I don't even need them until Joey comes on. These are what, the K240 Studios, AKG probably, 240 Studios. I should probably open up the window that if Joey is calling in, that I see him calling in, that I don't screw this up. Give me a second to go find it. I think it's the interview window. Interview is off. Let's turn the interview on. Turn on using, all right. Well, I guess, sorry, Joey, for whatever reason, this thing's not working that well. There we go. Stand by. Let's loop Joey in here. I managed to screw almost everything up today, Joey, so my bad. There you are. What's up, dog?
Yo, how's it going?
Good to see you. I was just coming to our favorite topic, helium, and I think I should put both of us above that so we are able to be seen. Let's see. So in helium news, the observed coverage layer is out. We can talk about that, which I'm very excited about. I did my very level best, Joey, to not talk about that. And I managed to fail semi-miserably because we talked about it a bit on this thing. But yeah, super cool to see that out there. When you and I were checking it out, you were psyched that I kind of intuitively, not because I'm a genius, just because I'm a human, understood what the intent was. And that is the goal of good design. And then the venues piece is out, so you can inspect nearby venues and see where you might want to, might want to get coverage. And then the map switching between layers seemed like a little smaller thing, but like one of those nice little design piece that's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting a little. Do you want to dive into that one?
Let's come back to it, and I'll do the rest of the
Okay,
DePIN
cool. I'm,
stuff, and
I'm
then we'll
catching up.
spend a ton of time on it. Okay,
Cool.
Hivemapper news. I put in the notes whether or not 619 OTA got his, because I know every time he's always asking about it. And Travis, I know you told me to turn my autofocus on. It works a lot better if my glasses are off, so I'll have to deal with my blurry vision. I did see that they're shipping a ton of those things. I know that Ariel is a super hard worker, so I'm not concerned they're not going to deliver. It sounds like their messaging has sucked and they're behind, but hardware is hard. So, and I know Joe and 619 are not psyched on them at all, but I'll give them a pass. Wi-Fi Dabba, I just want to have a shout out for them. They've been doing a really good job. The founders both come on, they do videos. They say like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. Really good job on the kind of the branding and messaging side. That's what I'd like to see a lot of from DePIN projects in general, is just direct from the founders. That ability is out there with technology today, and those guys are making the most of it. In DIMO land, they announced this thing I don't understand, DLPLabs collab, where they're sharing data and you earn tokens, but I thought that's what DIMO did. So maybe I'll see if I can get the DIMO guys on and we'll talk about it. In Wingbits land, they're announced this thing going to Token 2049, which I think is end of the month, so in 2 or 3 weeks in Dubai. That would be a fun one to go to. I haven't been to Dubai in God knows how long. And I thought the cool thing they were talking about was the rise of geospatial DePINs. So I like how the DePIN sector is kind of fragmenting out into little subsections, and they're all taking that seriously. So they're doing that with GeoNet and with Spexi. Spexi is the next one on my list. They had an interesting piece on drones versus satellite imagery, and they made a bunch of claims that I don't know if they're totally right, because they had like just conflicting numbers, and maybe it's me just not being able to do math, but it was. I think the takeaway was that drone imagery for a specific use case, if you want things that are more clear, that are faster, like right now, and you want it cheaper, they're better. I don't know how it's faster because satellites seem like they cruise around the Earth pretty regularly, as far as I can tell from the night sky. But I guess if you wanted a drone right now and you could reroute a satellite, that's fair enough that they be faster. Let's see. WeatherXM, I think this is my last one, is they've got a vote on their very first WIP, their WeatherXM improvement proposal, WIP 1, that ends April 11th. It would be personally beneficial for me. It's a GPS update penalty, and they would move it instead of being daily to every 3 days, which would be nice for me because my station is out in a place where there's not a ton of helium coverage, and so it won't report its GPS and it gets penalized. It's not super important to me. I'm not relying on WeatherXM or any DePIN ever to make my mortgage, but it is irritating that I think I have like a useful thing, and I know the local paragliding use it every day because if it ever goes down, I almost immediately get a text, and that it doesn't get rewarded. But is that a big deal for me? No. Last thing I've got is MeteSci. We talked about this on the Helium IoT working group call on Monday. The thing got launched. I think we talked about this last week, or it was coming. The official launch of all 6 episodes was Friday, and then I pushed it out on Monday to make sure that I hadn't screwed anything up over the weekend. You can check that out. The link is down in the description, pod.metsci.show. You can go to metsci.show. I don't think this is appropriate for anyone on this call, but just it was super fun to build in a day now that I've got how to build Cloudflare pages sites. If you want to support the show, you can go to support.metsci.show, and everything works. There's this cool little Stripe integration. Again, I don't expect anyone on here to do that, but I thought it was I don't know, it's been like a really rad journey to build this whole thing out and make things work. So that's my news for DePIN. Joey, what's going on with Helium?
Morning.
Good morning.
Uh, all sorts of stuff, I guess. Yeah, a little confusion joining. I joined from Safari, and my entire experience was different. So,
Oh, I've got one more thing that I fucked up. I'm sorry. There it is. They make something every day. So Kevin, down at the bottom of the links in the description, Flywheel Systems selling the shirts. I probably should put the Amazon link on there. I'm sure Kevin can drop it in the chat if he gets here, and I'll put it in the description later once I remember to get it. But if you want to get one of those shirts on Amazon, that supports Kevin, who does all the graphics for this show. Okay, now I'm done.
good. Yeah, I don't have it in my background right now, so
Yeah,
got to make sure we gotta get the plug in there.
yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about the observed demand layer. I think it'd be kind of interesting to talk a little bit about it, like the guts of what's going on with that thing for this audience. They tend to track things pretty closely.
Yep.
So this one's really cool because previously, Helium for its oracles and trying to figure out where hotspots should go on the mobile network and all of that has been paid data. So like they bought data from Google, or they bought it from, whatever, like footfall traffic provider. This one is entirely sourced and generated within Helium, which is I think it's a pretty big move when you sort of look at the broader crypto space, or if anything, like telcos. There aren't even telcos that are doing this. Um, and so this is the Helium mobile subscribers that are opting into coverage mapping, are submitting all this data, and then we have taken all of that data, done a ton of heavy processing on it, filtered out anything that's like landing in residential areas. We only care about the commercial stuff. So you don't have, an entire family with Helium Mobile being like, oh yeah, there's demand here. Like that's not what this layer is about. Um, and so we've been able to basically highlight all throughout the United States, anywhere where there's like a heavy saturation of Helium mobile subscribers looking for coverage. Um, and so this starts to take a really big step in telling people where to go deploy hotspots. And then I saw a post from Ed Ballou yesterday, and he was sort of like talking about his deployment strategy, his playbook for getting out there and telling people they should set up hotspots. This map gives evidence, it gives credence to that discussion when you walk into a restaurant or a bar or a corner store and say, you now get to say and point to something and say, there is demand for a hotspot here. I can help you make that happen. And so it's that thing that I think a lot of people have been kind of looking for something to point to. And I think this starts to be that, which is, I think, pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's rad. It's super rad. And it's nice. You just go to what is it, world.helium.com,
Yep. Yeah, it's the one.
and then check out the mobile map, which is the thing that loads up automatically. And if you can't figure it out, then you can't do DePIN.
Yeah, you might struggle. The little menu in the bottom right, in case you miss it, and then you'll figure it out from there. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, the data gets generated once a month. We'll keep publishing and
Oh, so it's
refining and
it's
making
refreshed
better.
once a month. It's not refreshed daily.
Yep. Yeah. So like this is data generated from user submitted data. Like we wanted to make sure that we were being really careful in how this got processed, make sure that we were throwing out phones doing weird things. And so there's been a lot of work behind the scenes to make this like a quality data set. That's also not, like we only show a hex if I think it's 10 people have visited it. So we don't need to show like a single person and where they go and all, so a lot of consideration on that side of things.
Yeah, I would expect that. Is that Cokes that's doing that? Because she always does a good job. No, that's someone else.
No, that's me working with
Damn, Joey.
David Young and Kent on the Nova Labs team. Uh,
Nice. Fuck yeah. It's
yep.
almost like you know what you're doing with design.
Yeah, a little bit. Not really. Yeah.
Shit. Let's see. I was talking through all the stuff and I missed a bunch. Maria, good to see you. I haven't seen you in donkey's years. If you have any questions on helium, hit us with them. I saw a thing the other day,
Yeah.
Joey. I did the a MetSci show with Robert Boggs. It will come out in the next week or two. God, I have. Oh my God, I got to use this. I've got 4 of these shows in the can. Um,
See it.
and it's like it doesn't bum me out to not put them on there, but it's just like, oh my God, I want to release them all at once and just get the information out there because each show is awesome. There's one with Paul Disc 91 who's been on this a bunch, but there's like new people who've come on, and one of them was Robert, and he came on and we were talking about helium after the show ended. And he was like, "Oh, like how do I use it?" And I was like, "Oh, let me tell you about MeteoScientific." And he's like, "Dude, this is rad. Let me put up a gateway right away." And I was like, "Ah, super super cool." I think a lot of people
Love it.
had in the LoRaWAN world had thought that helium was gone or didn't work or was unreliable, and then we went and looked at the Explorer page together, and he's like, "Oh shit, there's way more coverage in Germany than I thought. There's not coverage in my little town,
Hmm.
but I can fix that." It was really cool.
Yeah. That's I This is the constant struggle that I deal with comms and helium is we talk about something and then we move on to talking about the next thing. But one of the things we previously talked about was that coverage layer on the IoT map, which is a huge deal. Again, it's not something anyone else is doing. Um, so we're constantly iterating on tooling to be able to demonstrate and help people deploy and do it. Like the amount of data science and the amount of like big brain activity happening on this stuff is unparalleled. So I don't know, we need everyone's help basically to always be pointing people in the right direction for where to go look at that data, and doing more work on trying to consolidate that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm taking on that with Met side. It's kind of cool to talk to all these people, and whether it's on the show or off the show, like, hey, like, what do you think of helium? And
Mhm.
some of them are like, oh yeah, we tried that, and some are like, oh yeah, the thing's awesome, and some are like, I thought that was, does that even exist? Like, yeah, yeah, it's still the
Yeah,
biggest LoRaWAN in the world by a long shot.
sure is. Yep.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I keep having conversations with folks and they're finding value, which is great. But yeah, those tools, they're made for folks like you. So we got to make sure that they're getting use.
yeah. I did get a comment. I had a conversation or a call just before this, and the guy and I were talking. He's a marketing buddy of mine, and he's like, "Hey, that's cool that you do the you do the show with the founder of Helium every week." And I was like, "Well, close."
If you squint, maybe I look like a mirror. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty awesome, but super cool to see kind of that. Yeah, people are paying attention to this and seeing what's going on, and getting the latest in helium. I know when I had seen the world .helium.com thing, I thought immediately, I was like, oh shit, I've got to get out there and talk to a couple of coffee shops and redeploy my hotspots, and I haven't gotten around to doing it because I got a million other things to do. But it was a super cool thing to see, and it's something I hope we see with all of the DePINs out there. Is not only is, hey, get your miner out there and earn your tokens, but like this is how the thing works, and this is how you can make it better. And Hivemapper's done a pretty good job with that with the bursts. But I think this acts as a template for all deepins to say this is how you can do this thing and make it better with us.
Mhm.
I
I
can
mean,
imagine. Good.
there's constant rethinking of stuff. I was pruning trees this past weekend and had like a wild idea and dropped it in the Slack, and it just kicked off this whole basically, oh, we could tear everything down and rethink how we approach proof of coverage. Um, like it, there's a lot of benefit in looking at your neighbors sort of building stuff like look to GeoNet or DIMO or whatever. Like everyone's been innovating on token models. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's rad to see. There you go, Maria. There's the world.helium.com. And I guess you could, I don't know, is there an ES for Spanish?
yeah, if your browser is set to Spanish language, it'll just auto pop over to Spanish.
Oh, okay, birthday.
Yeah,
Super cool. Oh, Neil wants you to tear it down. Pay those who transfer data only. Okay.
right. it's
Yeah.
it's a big idea.
What's the idea for POC?
So the idea is I don't even know if I want to say because there's like it has no legs yet. Literally doing like a discussion on this today.
Hmm.
Um,
You heard it
but
here
looking,
first.
yeah, let's try it out. Um, so this is a mobile network thing. So sorry, Neil, but I am thinking about IoT stuff too. Um, the proof of coverage on mobile is insanely complicated. There's, like I was saying before, there's all these oracles, there's all this stuff that goes into it.
Hmm.
Um, but we have something that tends to be a really, really good signal of the utility, which is whether carrier phones select those hotspots. So could we throw everything else away and just basically do sort of testing the waters periods with these hotspots where they wake up, they listen for subscriber devices, they transfer data on some limited basis. They don't get rewarded for it, so you don't have people doing weird things and gaming it or whatever. But using that as a pulse to go and activate full carrier offload to emit the proof of coverage, et cetera, et cetera. So this depends on a couple of things. It depends on some, agreements with those carriers to be able to do this kind of, you know, uh, probing, if you will. Um, but something like that, you know, eliminates the need to think about density. It needs to eliminates the need to think about footfall, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Jeremy, this would be for all hotspots because the way we would approach it would be unrated traffic. So the carrier wouldn't pay for those test events, but they would get basically free data transfer in those periods. So something like an hour a day, the thing wakes up, it handles, maximum 50 people or whatever, and then goes back to sleep until it gets activated for full offload. So you're not giving the carrier a free ride in that scenario. Anyway, it's an idea. Might not go anywhere. Probably won't go anywhere because you have to tear a bunch of stuff down. But
Hmm.
those are the kind of conversations that you know can reshape the way we approach stuff.
I don't understand. Maybe I not maybe I missed something. I don't understand
Sure.
why. Yeah, how that's like why that would be different than the way it is now. Like, what am I missing? Where because I'm thinking all these mobile
Yeah.
hotspots are already listening. They're already doing all that stuff. Like, what is
So
super different about this?
the way the hotspot works today is you go deploy it. It gets Helium Mobile activated, and it gets some one or two smaller carriers that don't really care about precise location will get
Hmm.
activated for them. But there's not a lot of subs out there, and it's not sort of a fully active carrier. Um, that gives very little sense because every time the big carrier walks by, they're not necessarily connecting to that device, so we don't actually have any sense of whether it's in a high traffic area based on that footfall volume.
Oh, wait. Hang on. They're not connecting to that device because there are other better connections that they've already made.
Because the hotspot hasn't been activated to work with that carrier.
Got it. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and I'll put words in your mouth, but if I'm on whatever and AT&T hasn't said we're going to use all of your hotspots, or they've only said we're going to use the hotspot at Paleo Treats, we're not going to use the hotspot at whatever Vaughn's or the gas station. Even if I walk by with my AT&T phone back by Helium, the gas station it won't pick up because AT&T has said we're not going to buy that data from that. And what you're saying is all hotspots would buy data from all, or would whatever past data, paid data from all phones 1 hour a day or something like that.
No, so it would be free data. Basically, the hotspot offers, some limited portion of bandwidth, for an hour a day or whatever, basically to prove that it is in a position where it can serve those customers. So and you could do it sort of random periods
Okay.
throughout the day. Um, but the the big challenge right now is trying to validate that a hotspot A is where it says it is, B is in a commercial or high value location, um, and then making sure that we're not missing any because maybe it's in the little corner store, but that corner store is at the bottom of a residential building,
Yep.
and so they're really hard things to parse apart. But if you can start to say like, well, this thing's seeing 500 people in the time that it was online, well, now we have pretty good sort of confidence that it is in a high value location. It gives a little more signal to activating it for full offload.
Got it. So you're basically this is like a maybe not a loss leader, but like first one's free for all the big carriers. You're like, hey, we'll give you this stuff for free, and if you like it, you can pay for it, and if you don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
And
Cool.
an hour a day for them isn't actually worth anything. So, like they want to see full active offload.
Hmm.
And so you can do this little bit of unrated traffic. Hopefully they don't care. I don't like this warrants a lot more investigation. Um, but it could be a different way to think about this that doesn't rely on a bunch of frankly heavy data sets that give only a sort of high level view of what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Anyway, it's just an idea. That's
Yeah, no,
so
we're voting on
don't,
this at the end of the day. It's going to be me and
yeah,
Joey voting on it. It's going to pass, and everyone's going to suck it. That's
yeah.
it.
So yeah, lots of thinking to do. Um, let's see, what else is going on? Movie star Telefonica, there's more sites in Mexico. So a whole new wave of stuff in there. So that kind of snuck through. We haven't done real comms on that yet, but it's
Hmm.
live on the Explorer. So 28 new cities, I think it is. Um,
Seems like
some
a
right
lot of
on,
cities.
yeah, some right on the border of Texas, and then of course all the way down. There's some nice little clusters around Oaxaca, but not Oaxaca yet. I wanted to see some of that
That'll be a
happening,
no.
but um,
All right.
yeah, so good stuff happening on that front too.
Okay. What's going? The proof of coverage IoT we did in Medellin is not there anymore. I guess we need to walk and ride around again. Oh, this is kind of cool. This must be like a new thing that, or maybe I just because I'm on a new computer. The chat. So yeah, I think how often does it? What do you got? What's going on, Joey?
Just reading comments. Sorry.
What
Don't
did I
even
miss?
touch it. Joe's trolling. Don't even touch
Is
it.
he?
It's not.
Can you
Yeah.
spend 5 minutes crapping on XNet, please? I haven't paid attention to XNet, Joe. What are they doing? Are they doing you right? I'm guessing they're not.
No comment. Yeah.
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 Let's see. I see something from Unboxed. Oh, so with IoT coverage, Maria's saying she was down in Medellin and they built a coverage map and then it's gone. How often does that refresh? Is that like if I walked around 2 years ago and I look at the IoT map now,
Oh,
will it still
I
say
wonder.
that there's coverage there?
Maria might be looking at the coverage map on World,
Hmm.
which doesn't show any coverage in Colombia right now. And that's one of the shortcomings of our methodology there, which is using the DIMO macarons to test the coverage.
Okay, Gaga.
Yep. So yeah, Maria, the way that map is working, and we've talked about this a little bit, but basically cars are driving around with these vehicle asset trackers. They upload lat longs and do that stuff, and then they validate that coverage. We model it, put it on the map. But nobody has those things in Colombia, so it is underrepresented, actually completely
Ah, so
unrepresented.
so even if Maria goes out and takes her mapper out and maps around, it's not picking it up because it's only picking up DIMO.
Yeah, Dima's only reading that, yeah. But it sounds like maybe she's talking about something else, but
Okay.
yeah.
Huh. This was the one we did, so probably it's different now. Yeah. Let's see. I think this is an important piece because it took me a while to wrap my head around the same thing. And I think Fred is what if it's just a busy corner with no apartments but a ton of cars and foot traffic? I'm going to say no, but Joey, you're nodding your head.
It depends if it's indoor or outdoor. Carriers have different demands. Some of those ones that are activating for all APs, those can be valuable deployments, especially as they scale. Um, you know, that sounds like an urban Wi-Fi deployment, which is a classification when these things get submitted. So
Okay.
if there's people, if they're hanging out, watching the YouTubes, like
Yeah.
that's a good way to go.
I think of this in the same way that I thought of the IoT stuff is that there are parameters that you want to meet and you can put out in the beginning with IoT, you could put out an IoT hotspot anywhere and it would do okay. But as the competition heated up, it was to your benefit to think about where the best deployments were going to be and then to pursue those. And in the same way that the best deployments for IoT in the beginning were up on mountaintops with clear lines of sight for hundreds of miles, the best deployments for mobile are going to be places where people are sitting there waiting, bored. So if you're looking at a location, I think the kind of parameter questions you ask yourself is more or less kind of two things. Are people bored and looking at their phones? And is there current really good coverage? And if they're, should I do it this way? If they're bored and looking at their phones, and there's not great coverage, then it's a fantastic spot for a Helium hotspot. If they're bored and looking at their phones, but there is great coverage, might not be as good. And if they're not bored, they're just passing through, probably not that good at all.
Yeah.
That'd be how I look at it.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've started to look at with this observed demand thing is correlating it to the venues that are within those locations. And some of the surprising ones have been like dentist office or laundromats. And so it's what else are you going to do but watch YouTube in those places? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Sorry, one little thing. The underlying metric that we're tracking for all of those pink hexes is people dwelling in a location. So it's not just people like walking through, or it's like not like a foot traffic thing. They actually go spend a certain amount of time there, which is
Yeah, let's see.
a better indicator that they're going to sort of participate in data traffic.
I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Again, new computer. I'm trying to make sure there's nothing on my screen that I'd be okay or not okay with sharing. Enhance. Man, I did. Oh, I've got to quit and reopen it. Motherfucker. Nope. You're not going to get a screen share from me.
Oh, well.
But yeah, I thought it was a super cool thing to do. One of the other cool things there was it showed each hotspot was shown how many connections it had by how tall the hotspot was on the map. So it looked like there was a bunch of skyscrapers.
Are you talking IoT Old
No,
Explorer?
I'm talking mobile now. Sorry, I made a jump.
Connections it had based on, I'm losing you.
Okay, so when you look at, I'm going to look at the map. Unfortunately, I can't show you this thing. When I look at the map for San Diego, and I zoom in on places, and then I look, what was it? Expansion zones, no, observed demand. I thought that when you looked at it, and you did a screen demo, I don't think I'm giving away anything away, is that when you looked at it and like you tilted the map a little bit, you could see how tall a hotspot was by how many connections it made, something like that.
Yeah, that's the data layer.
The data
So
layer,
that
okay,
is how much traffic is going through that hotspot.
got it.
So, gigabytes and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, we tilt the map so you can actually see the volume of those hexagons. But
that's right.
yeah.
So when I looked at that, I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought I
Mhm.
was like a big deal. And then I zoomed out and I realized that there are way bigger deals than me in San Diego. So I can't be the biggest fish in this small little fucking pond.
Yeah. I, I'm actually like I've got a pretty good deployment here in Oakland, and I'm proud that it's not the biggest one. It's like it's at a coffee shop. It does great. Like um, there's some ones out there that just move a ton of data. It's crazy and see a ton of so. Um, Darwin posted this thing on Twitter. He somebody he knows or whatever got a hotspot into a bar that was right next to the National Stadium in DC.
Hmm.
And that thing handles bonkers traffic. It's some like 3,000 people a day coming through there. It's just so baseball season or whatever's going on. So he put out some crazy bounty to try to get more people to do that. He's like, I'll give you 1,000 HNT if you can replicate this somewhere.
Hmm.
So anyway, go find him on, I think it's DZ Peasy or something on Twitter.
Now, if I were the unlicensed and uncensored marketing guru behind Helium, I might call that the biggest dick contest. And I actually wouldn't recommend this at all, but I would consider that someone who has a penchant for making graphics could do some kind of data duplication, and instead of a giant pink tower, I'm gonna leave that one right there.
All
I think
right,
that'd be
yeah.
funny. So thank you, Ivan, for correcting me. That is data transfer. Super cool to see, and that's an interesting thing to think about. If there's, we talked about this a long time, and I thought I bought a website. It was like gamblinghelium.com or something, or deepingambler.com or something like that. But that'd be pretty cool to say, like, hey, who's going to have the tall or the most data transfer in this place by this time?
Yeah.
So,
Another underlooked thing is the leaderboards on the world are very fascinating to scroll through.
oh wait, what am I looking at on world leaderboards?
Yeah, there's top hotspots and top regions, and there's the network stats and stuff too. But the top hotspots one, you can filter it by all sorts of different stuff,
Well, where do
and
I see that?
get
I'm
some
looking
really
at the
cool
thing right
insight.
now.
That is in under the mobile button on the top right.
Stand by. Oh, top regions. Yeah, top hotspots.
Yep.
The top
So
hotspot, Helium Plus winning Purple Stallion. I guess they're crushing 1.6 terabytes. That's pretty
yeah.
good.
So keep in mind, Helium Plus NFTs are
Hmm.
multiple access points under sort of one wrapper. So that's an entire site that you're looking at there.
Those
So
cocksuckers.
yeah.
Okay, so they wired up a bunch of different radios, um,
Yep.
and that's how they're winning. But the highest single hotspot is noisy lead tarantula. Huh.
Probably crushing it.
And
You click through
unboxed.
and
I
everything.
feel like the leaderboard for top hotspots is not as correct with data. I mean, this reminds me of like the old leaderboard for in IoT land. when it's like who had the most connection. Remember there was that docile bone pony that was in
Oh
Boston?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I forgot that dude's
Um,
name, Zero something, but yeah.
what I'll say on the accuracy is it is generally accurate, however, can be cached pretty hard. So the entire world platform gets a certain layer of caching, so it doesn't just wreck us. Um,
Huh.
so there can be sort of mismatches between leaderboard and what you see on the world map. There can be delays varied in there, but if you're looking at sort of a general snapshot, it should be accurate. But continuing to tweak that. Um,
Well,
I
look
got
at you
hot.
guys
I
helping
got
each other. What do you got? Or you got to run. You got a fucking big
yeah,
thing. Yeah. Cool.
yeah. My last note I'll say for World is I'm constantly trying to collect feedback. I want to see how people are using, especially this new layer. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're a deployer, if you're thinking about how the correlation of venues plays in there, we're kind of at a fork right now on next product steps. We're either going to go start doing a lot of high level network wide stuff, which could start to bring in like real time stats from the IoT and mobile networks and whatever else. The other is going down this path for venues on the mobile network. So we have this sort of rudimentary set. You can click on a pin on the map, you see a list of venues, but they're not classified, they're not correlated to hotspots, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot more that we're thinking we could do on that end. So I'm curious to see what people use out of the current set of tooling. We definitely didn't go like full bore. This is a MVP release.
Just email Joey.
And
It's
we'll
it's
go
like
from there.
superjoey@helium.com. Just send all of
Yeah,
your complaints there.
yeah. Don't do that.
All right, get out of here. Go do your Twitter thing, dude. I'm gonna
Yeah.
wrap this thing up. Good to
All
see you.
right.
Thanks for coming on.
Take it easy. Yeah.
Thanks.
See y'all.
All right, let's see if I go back to Sola here. Okay. And anyone on Onocoy. There we go. Cool. I think that wraps it for the day, unless you guys have something else. Derek, please some decorum. Did you not like the my idea, Derek? Come on, man. That's it's just good, clean fun. Well, I guess you can't do that anymore. Um, okay, I think we caught up with most of the comments. Travis's, don't you know that someone has coverage like that down here in Huston? I didn't know that. Are there giant skyscrapers down in Huston? I did see that I would consider a known Helium gamer, is well known in the community, has deployed in San Diego. It's not me, and their hotspots are doing well. No surprise. So I thought that was pretty funny. All right, guys, I think that's one like. Oh, I guess I should ask for likes, right? Right, Keenan. Do I even have a hit the like button? I thought I might have put some kind of like hit the like button in there. But yeah, take a minute. There's 4 likes, 56 viewers. You guys are crushing. Basically, I do this because it's fun to talk to you. I'm not in pursuit of GK YouTube world domination. So if you don't like it, I don't know. Doesn't fucking matter to me. I like having a good time talking to Joey and sharing cool stuff with you. No, not Gate. It's not Gateholder. Is Gateholder in San Diego? I don't think he is. I don't think. Maybe he is. Maybe he's got what was he like? Got the chicken restaurants? I'm gonna get crushed for that because I don't know what restaurant thing he's got. But yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, that'll wrap it for the day. I'm gonna get back. I gotta build a anti-spam AI system. That's on my list of things to do today. I've got to write the introductory video transcript for the MeteSci show. I just got word that my audio editor is out for a couple days on travel, so the next MeteSci show will not be out for at least 3 days, probably weekends. And then what else is going on? I had another cool thing. Oh, I saw that Cloudflare has a million different things that you can do on it. I've been using their pages and workers and KV and database a bunch lately, but I saw that was something cool. And then, oh, Travis, I want to talk to you about this. I think we should do, I want to do, so I'm going to do a blog post. I think the post for the MeteSci show, actually I have more stuff to talk about, so I'll be here for another minute or two. One of the articles for MeteSci will be on how to use MQTT, because I get like 1 or 2 MQTT requests a month from console.MeteoScientific saying, hey, I tried MQTT and it didn't work. And they didn't read the documentation, and it's because the documentation is kind of buried. So that was interesting to me like, okay, I've got to do an actual post on this, and I'm going to start soup to nuts because I'm not very up to date on MQTT stuff. And I think I just used the Home Assistant mosquito server or whatever it's called the last time I did it, which was 2 years ago with Dirk Beer, when we set up the trigger in my garage door to turn the light on. So I think my big plan is I want to set up, is it even called an MQTT server on Monstra, and then walk through that whole thing and do a tutorial. Maybe that's biting off more than I can chew, and then show people how to use it and set up their own thing. And then Travis's thing I wanted to talk to you about was, I think it would be super cool to do an article or a video. I'll probably do an article because they're easier to do, and I think they're actually more useful, on a reticulum to helium bridge. Is that what it's called? And I think you're working on that. Oh, a broker. That's what it's called, not a server, a broker. So I was thinking about this morning. That would be super cool to do the MQTT piece and then do the reticulum piece. And between those two, the other thing is I've got the URL that I shared with Travis that's top secret for no good reason. It's just, I don't know. It's not always good to have everyone knowing every URL you own. But I thought it'd be super fun to use that for some kind of like messaging address piece. So you'd say like, hey, whatever is AF or super secret at supersecret.com or whatever the thing is, and have that be a reticulum kind of entry point to talk around the world. Like, and look, Discord is going to be better because it's just easier, faster. Everybody knows how to use it, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought it'd be pretty cool to have kind of an off regular internet thing like reticulum in use. So that'd be pretty cool. Okay, I think, what else do I have on my list of things to do today? That would be super rad. Not those notes, but these next notes. It's on my to-do. Okay, MQTT, video script for intro video. Oh, I've got to fix the packet forwarder that's on AJH. It's been singing into nothing for a while, and I've just got to set up the correct IP address for it to go to because I'd screwed up my networks a bunch. Building the anti-spam tool with AI. I'm building like a post-show asset generation tool for the MetSci show because what I've found is on that thing, I'll record the conversation, and that's super fun. And then you got to write the show notes. You got to do all the links. You got to do all this stuff. You got to make it look nice, formatting for stuff that is like show notes for podcasts are required in general terms if you want a decent podcast, but they're a pain in the ass to write. And I don't know that anyone ever reads them except for the one guy who's like, hey, you didn't leave show notes. I didn't get this one thing. And it'll be the one big opportunity you missed. And so making the show notes is important, but it's also kind of a pain in the ass. So I thought I can probably automate that. So it takes intent here is it takes every single transcript from all of the shows I've done each time. So it's constantly updating itself. And then it takes the research notes from prior to the show. And then it takes all the show notes that have already been written, and it writes a new set of show notes using this format. Like, here's what you learn, here's what you'll do, here's where to go, here's like whatever it is that's in there. And that's the format I got to build. And then basically with This Is the Dream, I push a button on Stream Deck. It takes me through a local apt prompt, like what was the guest name, what was their thing, what was their piece, give me their transcript, and I'll point them to that stuff, and then it'll just spit out, here's your SEO stuff, here's your content stuff, here's your image, et cetera, and there'll be API calls. I think that's what it's called, to Midjourney, etc. Travis, you should host a Node-RED instance. Why would I host Node-RED instances? What benefit would that be to, like, I mean, because it just seems like anyone could host that same thing. Do you mean that I should have like Node-RED templates? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe you 99% of the time you have a much deeper understanding of these things than I do. So yeah, maybe I should host a Node-RED instance. Okay. I think that's most of it for the day. That's most of the stuff as an integration for this MQTT, etc. Huh. Maybe. Yeah, maybe we could do that on the gk.dev site. That might be fun to do that and just leave it up for a bit. But I found, I mean, one of the things I think Thomas over at Tinkart has said that stuck with me was that nobody uses these dashboards. Like, and I think you expand that out to nobody uses stuff that they don't need, which sounds totally obvious, but there's a super fun part of being a nerd, which is like building the thing, as Fred said, just to build it, just because it's, I think it's Fred. Yeah. Just because it's there, like you want to get out there and do the thing. And then there's like, will people actually use it? And so I think there's got to be this driving urge for someone to like, hey, I need this thing. I need it in my life to make my life better. So I'm gonna build it myself and make it work. And that would probably be more useful. Okay. I think that is actually the end of it. I will see you guys later. Rock and roll. I'm out.